Jelingba Dumba Lobion Chimbo Joseph Trorgan Lane Tantati Ganang Sinzi Xi Jinping Pala Xi Zhongxun Dan Benjirmji Park Diwe Gorki Songshe Kamachunang Duini. Ani Tantati Tanta Professor Korang Ki Lutu Shipta Shume Kwache Tantati Korang Tanta Dirisha Ari Jasa Washington Yube America Jaji Shepshu Kang Lobion Tang and Jaji Nyamle Walsung Dinner Kang Lobion Shumbache. Dine ari chedi kebe tsokbe ani simjuwa shumbache korang luju dudu dine samjo shujoboje.
First of all, thank you for having me. I certainly don't deserve to sit up here like all of the other individuals that are. I'm a professor at American University, and it may interest you to know that the daughter of the 10th Panchen Lama studied at American University, so there's an interesting connection there. I'm writing a biography of Xi Zhongxun, the father of Xi Jinping, and I've learned some interesting things about the relationship between Xi Zhongxun and the 10th Panchen Lama that I'd like to share with you today, and I hope you'll find it interesting. Although I will say that, as you can see by the fact that I'm speaking English and not Tibetan, I'm not an expert on Tibet, so one of the reasons I'm here today are for selfish reasons, which are that if any of you have anything to share with me that you know about this interesting relationship, I hope that you reach out to me. So, as you've heard from the other speakers today, the 10th Panchen Lama, when the Civil War was wrapping up, wasn't exactly sure what to do. The KMT was trying to persuade him to flee to Taiwan. And the Northwest Bureau of the Chinese Communist Party, where Xi Zhongxun was a leader, was involved in the negotiations with the 10th Panchen Lama, hoping to persuade him to remain within China. So Xi Zhongxun is part of that legacy, and very interestingly, in 1950, when the 10th Panchen Lama was on his way to Beijing, he stopped to meet with Xi Zhongxun, who was the very first top-ranking CCP leader that the 10th Panchen Lama ever met when he was 13 years old. In December 1951, as the 10th Panchen Lama was preparing his historic return to Tibet, Xi Zhongxun went to Qinghai to participate in the farewell ceremony. And in fact, at that ceremony, Xi Zhongxun gave the 10th Panchen Lama 30,000 silver dollars. And she said, "The Panchen Lama is like the Dalai Lama. Among Tibetan people, faith in him is very high. The Panchen has left Tibet for 28 years. Tibetan people thought of you longingly." And the Panchen Lama thanked the Chinese Communist Party for creating a situation such that it was possible for him to return to Tibet. What's interesting is a few days after this public farewell ceremony, Xi Zhongxun met with two Chinese Communist Party officials who were planning to go to Tibet with the 10th Panchen Lama. And during that conversation, Xi Zhongxun said, "The 10th Panchen Lama is a progressive force. They were repressed in Tibet. They cannot get by without relying on us. They will cooperate with us to the utmost." He also said, "Do not have too many demands with regard to their backwardness," referring to the 10th Panchen Lama. "As long as big similarities are achieved, small differences are okay. Of course there will be small differences. Having small differences is what the United Front is all about. You should really pay attention to this. This is the bold vision of the Chinese Communist Party." Now, one of the individuals who went to join the Tibet Work Committee in the Tibet, in Lhasa, was a man named Fan Ming. Now, Fan Ming believed that it was appropriate to make the position of the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama formally equal, and in fact believed that it would be appropriate to divide back Tibet, centered around Shagatsi, and a front Tibet centered around Lhasa. And at first it looked like the top leadership in Beijing supported this idea, but at the last moment, in part to convince the Dalai Lama to agree to what the CCP was providing to him, they decided not to do that. And the evidence suggests that the Northwest Bureau, including Xi Zhongxun, was disappointed that, in fact, the Northwest Bureau wouldn't be able to send their figures to back Tibet and create a region that would be on par with the region surrounding Lhasa led by the Dalai Lama. Once the decision by the CCP to prioritize the Dalai Lama over the Panchen Lama, we still see evidence that Xi Zhongxun believed that the CCP was treating the 10th Panchen Lama unfairly. And I'll give you two pieces of evidence for that. In 1954, when the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama went to Beijing, Xi Zhongxun went to inspect where the 10th Panchen Lama would be staying, and he was disappointed by how poor the quality of that venue was as compared to where the Dalai Lama was staying. Now, Deng Xiaoping went to inspect where the Dalai Lama was, and he was very happy. And the reason for that is Deng Xiaoping was the one who led the Southwest Bureau. Who were the ones who were in support of the Dalai Lama. Also in that year, the Dalai Lama was named the vice chairman of the National People's Congress, and the 10th Panchen Lama was named the vice chairman of the NPPCC. The Panchen Lama thought that was unfair. He complained. He said, since we've gone to Tibet, we've been treated unfairly by the Dalai Lama. And the person who was sent to bring him around and make him happy again was none other than Xi Zhongxun. Now, we've heard a lot today about how, in the lead up to the Great Leap Forward, the 10th Panchen Lama was very unhappy. And he was so unhappy that he refused to meet most Chinese Communist Party officials except for Chen Yi, He Long, and Xi Zhongxun. Now, in the conversations in 1962 that Li Weihan and Xi Zhongxun had with the 10th Panchen Lama, Xi said regarding the 70,000 character petition, "You are right that it is wrong to damage religious texts, images, or statues of the Buddha. This is historical culture." Xi Zhongxun also said to the Panchen Lama in 1962, "You vent your anger. Choosing to do it here is very good. I welcome you to vent your anger here. If today you are not done venting your anger, we can hold a special meeting for you to vent your anger some more. You vent your anger and we accept your anger. Every time there is a fight between us, then unity is better. It's good to have fights like this." Now, 1962 was a year that saw problems not only for the 10th Panchen Lama, but also for Xi Zhongxun, primarily because of a novel that came out that year about someone from the Northwest that Xi was originally associated with that was very politically problematic for lots of reasons. But part of the criticisms of Xi that we see in his downfall are related to his treatment of the 10th Panchen Lama. And in fact, after they were both rehabilitated after the Cultural Revolution, they talked to each other about how they were both similarly suffered because of that outcome. And so Mao Zedong said to the leadership of Tibetan affairs, "You are trying to make the Panchen Lama a people's leader, but he cannot be a people's leader." So after the Cultural Revolution in the 1980s, Xi Zhongxun, as a member of the Politburo, was the individual who ran United Front Affairs, which included Tibetan affairs. And he feuded, in fact, with the leadership in Tibet, a man named Infa Tang, over how the Panchen Lama should be treated. In 1981, Xinhua News Agency's internal circulation program had a document that said there were three enemies: the Dalai Lama, the Panchen Lama, and Phuntsho Wangye. And when the Panchen Lama heard about this, he complained to Xi Zhongxun, and Xi Zhongxun was furious and criticized Infa Tang for allowing that document to happen. Also, the person who facilitated the Panchen Lama's return to Tibet was none other than Xi Zhongxun. The local leadership in the Tibet Autonomous Region thought that it would be a bad idea because they hadn't gotten things under control yet after the Cultural Revolution, but Xi Zhongxun pushed for that to happen even though the figures in Lhasa didn't think that it was yet appropriate. Also, in 1984, at a meeting of the National People's Congress, the local Xizang Daily newspaper had pictures of that meeting, but none of them included the 10th Panchen Lama, which again infuriated the 10th Panchen Lama. So he went to complain to Xi Zhongxun, and Xi Zhongxun complained about Yin Fa Tang. In fact, according to some memoirs, the reason Yin Fa Tang lost his job in Tibet was because Xi Zhongxun was so unhappy with him. I want to mention to you that if you go on the internet, you can find a picture of Xi Zhongxun holding the baby of the 10th Panchen Lama, as well as a picture of Xi Zhongxun, Xi Jinping, the Panchen Lama, and the Panchen Lama's parents. I'd also like to mention to you that in 1989, Phuntsho Wanya said that Xi Zhongxun wanted him to go to Dharamsala to talk to the Dalai Lama about the next reincarnation, because if nothing was done in that regard, it was possible there would be a big disaster about the next one, which proved to be very prophetic, as we all know. And I'll conclude by just saying that Ajahn Rinpoche told me a story that in 1994, when he went to visit Xi Zhongxun in Shenzhen, Xi, who was in a wheelchair, said to him, "In my life, I have only been pious and had religious feelings towards two people, the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama," and he did this movement. So I'm running out of time. I hope you found that interesting, but it is a truly remarkable relationship, as I think you'll agree after I've shared this information with you, and perhaps also a hopeful story. So thank you.